Most of your stress, your burnout, your emotional exhaustion isn't coming from the things you can't control. It's coming from the fact that you've made yourself too available to things you shouldn't be controlling in the first place. You feel drained, not because life is impossible, but because you're constantly pouring yourself into people, tasks, and problems that were never yours to carry. People don't usually take advantage of your time maliciously. They do it because you've trained them to believe you're always available, always reachable, always ready, always saying yes. But at what cost? Your mental clarity, your creativity, your personal goals, your peace. Because the more you make yourself endlessly available to others, the less you're available to yourself. So today, we're breaking this cycle. We're going to uncover 5 subtle but destructive ways overavailability is holding you back, and how things start to radically shift the moment you set boundaries and pull back. Because when you stop being constantly available, everything starts to change. Let's dive in. You've been taught that saying yes is the right thing to do. From a young age, we're conditioned to be agreeable. Don't be difficult. Say yes. Be polite. Be helpful. So what do? You stretch yourself thin trying to be the nice person. You say yes, even when it costs you sleep, energy, and sanity. You say yes when your gut screams no. But here's the truth they don't teach you. Being a good person doesn't mean being a constant resource. It doesn't mean saying yes at your own expense. Because every time you say yes to something unaligned, you're silently saying no to something deeply important. Your goals, your rest, your joy. So how do you break that habit? Start by checking in before you commit. Ask, am I doing this out of guilt or obligation? Do I truly have the energy for this? Will I resent myself or them later for saying yes? Because generosity without boundaries isn't kindness, it's self-betrayal. And if you don't respect your own time, don't be surprised when no one else does either. You're always on standby mode. You ever notice how even your quiet moments aren't really quiet? Your phone's buzzing, your mind's racing, your calendar's full. You're eating lunch, but checking emails, taking a walk, but replying to texts. You're physically present, but mentally always on call. And in today's culture of constant connection, that's the default. But here's what it costs you: deep focus, creative thinking, genuine rest. Because your nervous system never gets to shut down and reset. And the worst part? You think you're being productive, when all you're doing is reacting. Living like this is like trying to run a race while stopping every few steps to answer someone else's questions. You never find your rhythm, and you never reach your pace. So, what's the fix? You need intentional, sacred windows of disconnection. Turn your phone on, do not disturb. Set office hours, even for friends. Designate no access time blocks for yourself. It might feel awkward at first, but when you stop being available to everyone else for a little while, you start becoming deeply available to your own priorities. You get your time, your mind, and your life back. You feel responsible for everyone else's emotions. Let's go even deeper. A big reason we stay available isn't time, it's fear. You fear someone might be disappointed if you say no. You fear they'll think you've changed. You fear they'll call you selfish. So you stretch. You overextend. You become the emotional caretaker for everyone in your circle. But here's the reality check. You are not responsible for how other people feel about your boundaries. Let me say that again. You are not responsible for other people's reactions to the boundaries you set. You're not cold. You're not rude. You're not mean. You're simply choosing to protect your energy, and that's your right. Because people who genuinely care about you, they'll adjust. The ones who get upset that you're no longer available at their every call, they weren't looking for a relationship. They were looking for a utility. And you're not an appliance. So release the need to be liked all the time. Because the moment you stop trying to manage how everyone feels, you finally start managing how you live. You mistake your availability for your worth. This one cuts deep. You've been taught, maybe even praised, for being always there, the reliable one, the dependable one, the fixer. And after a while, your identity gets wrapped up in it. You start believing that your worth is tied to your usefulness, that if you're not constantly giving, you're not valuable. But here's the truth. Your value is not determined by how much of yourself you sacrifice. It's not about how much you do for others. It's about who you are, even when you're doing nothing. You don't have to answer every text. You don't have to jump at every request. You don't have to be on all the time to be enough. In fact, the most powerful people, they are rarely the most available because they guard their energy. They protect their time. They know that what they bring is meaningful and they won't dilute it for convenience. And neither should you. You are not a vending machine of support. You are a human being with needs, limits, and a purpose that deserves protection. You think pulling back will push people away. Let's be honest. Part of why we overextend is because we fear what will happen when we stop. You think, if I say no, maybe they'll stop inviting me. If I don't show up, they'll think I don't care. If I create space, I'll lose connection. But here's what actually happens when you step back. You finally see who respects the real you, and who only respected the version of you they could exploit. You realize that not all relationships are built on mutual respect. Some were built on convenience. And when you stop giving 24/7 access, the right people stay, the wrong ones fade. And, most importantly, you return to yourself. You remember what it feels like to have peace, to have clarity, to have choice. Because boundaries don't destroy connection, they strengthen it by making sure it's genuine. And when you become unavailable to chaos, guilt, and people-pleasing, you become deeply available to peace, intention, and growth. Final thoughts. We live in a world that constantly rewards hustle, selflessness, and accessibility. But the truth? Unfiltered availability is a fast track to burnout and lower quality of life. It might make you feel needed in the short term, but it leaves you empty in the long term. So here's your wake-up call. You do not need to be available to everyone in order to matter. You don't have to answer every message right away. You don't have to attend every invite. You don't have to explain every no. The moment you start reclaiming your space, your peace, your time, everything changes. People respect you more. You respect yourself more. And life starts flowing from a place of choice, not obligation. So if you've been feeling drained, overwhelmed, or lost in the noise, it's not because you're broken. It's because you're too available. And now it's time to change that. Step back. Create space. Say no without guilt. Say yes without pressure. And most of all, make yourself deeply available to you. Because the version of you that stops being constantly available is the version that finally becomes unapologetically free. Let's become better by being less available to what doesn't serve us. If this message resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real talk on mindset, communication, and becoming your best self. Drop a comment below. What are you no longer making yourself available for? Let's build a community of people choosing peace over pressure, intention over impulse, and self-respect over people-pleasing. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.